Diary of a sociopathic mother-in-law next door entry. Today's date is Tuesday, 24th of June 2025. We finished the last entry on the subject of the abortion and how since I've analysed and thought about it and contextualised everything, I believe that it's a one-sided, manipulated story which is designed to discredit stepdad and to create some sort of victim, the idea that she's a victim, always the victim mentality, never her fault, she had no choice, everything's somebody else's fault, she's powerless in her own life, and I think that it was a manipulation tactic. She saw an opportunity to tell us something. We're talking about past experiences, and I don't believe that she gives anything without expecting something in return, whether that be gifts or favours, time, attention, information. She wants something in return, and she gives things as an investment, buying your loyalty. And when she gives you some information like that, it's an investment. What does she want? A return on her investment. What is the return? Resentment towards stepdad. Put her further higher up because she's so insecure, and treat her like the victim that she believes she is. So that's obviously, since I've thought about it, processed it, contextualised it, and looked at her behaviour following that disclosure, because I thought in the moment that I was building trust, because fundamentally trust is what she's got, she lacks, or she's probably not lacking, does not hold any. Not real trust. She doesn't trust because she's been so traumatised by everybody she's put trust in. Then the safety mechanism, the coping mechanism is to not trust anybody, and that is the root. It's not the root cause. It's the main effect, I would say. Then the root cause is the way she's being treated, but that does not make excuses. It doesn't give her an excuse to treat others like the beacon, like trash. Never was an excuse, and it never will be an excuse. So I thought I was building some sort of trust, and then in the next week or so, like I say, the beacon took her out for a lovely day out, completely pampered her with attention and affection, and again, that's a return on her investment. Wow, look at what I get when I play the victim. Child mentality. That sounds harsh. Then what other explanation is there for telling me something and spinning it in such a one-sided way. Especially when he's not here to defend himself. What other explanation is there? She's kept it a secret all of this time. Then all of a sudden, we're having a conversation where I'm making her feel like the victim. Because she is, to a degree. Back in the, that time of when she lost the first baby, secret funeral, the way she was treated by these complete numpties. People say, oh, it's a generational thing. I don't care. There's no excuse. But anyway, and then the way she was treated by her husband. Hello. Again, we don't know what his reasons were for having an affair. But anyway, yeah, she was a victim. But you have to not let yourself sink into a pit of victim mentality. You have to be resilient, and you have to get up and fight another day and take back your power, stand up for yourself and embrace those masculine traits that everybody's got, regardless of your gender. Don't delve into helplessness, sink into helplessness. Stand up for yourself in the future. Stand up for what you know is right. So anyway, she was a victim, but not anymore. Now she's just a victim of herself. So, in the following weeks, a couple of weeks maybe, the Beacon and I tried to deal with her with a bit more compassion. And please bear in mind that we've done that in the past. We've tried everything, which is why it always comes back to square one, which is distance yourself, go cold, don't give any emotion, just don't invest anything because you're wasting your time. So we've tried everything, but we thought, we'll give it another go. We thought maybe if she's more open and shares more of her true self and actually talks about her feelings and trusts us, that we might actually build trust. I know it's a big ask, but at this age, 70 or whatever, 73, 74, building trust is what you do with a child. But that is what we're dealing with. Child, maturity, mental age of a child. Yes, they can act mature in the real world, and enough to hold down a job and to look like a functioning adult. But it's an act. The true self is still just a child. So, big ask, but we tried. A couple of weeks went by, and then we realised that there was no change in behaviour at all, not even a blip. After everything we've done, spent 3 to 4 hours giving her therapy. It's effectively what I've done on that occasion. Done that many times, had long conversations, trying to explain things, rationalise, get her to see from a different perspective other than her own selfish view. Haven't got the time and energy to do this anymore. So, a couple of weeks, maybe a week and a half, after we've tried again, her and St George were going away for a night out. They weren't going out overnight, but they would be back late. So let's just say 11 o'clock at night. And they were leaving at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They were going out to the theatre or something like that. Anyway, a couple of days beforehand, so I don't know if I've mentioned this, she has this obsession in a binary black and white mind that the dog must have a wee at 7 o'clock p.m. I don't know why. I mean, I can probably delve into it, why she thinks like that. A dog can go a long time without, they're not a clock, but you know, that's how people like her operate. Routine, structure, anything spontaneous or random gives them anxiety. Oh, this is not normal. Anyway, so she's going away at 2 o'clock, so she needs somebody to let the dog out just for her to have a wee at 7 p.m. So a couple of days beforehand, the beacon is over at the lair. Roadkill's there. Beacon only goes now when Roadkill's there, because she knows that the husk won't be so cruel to her when the Roadkill is there. So that's her safety blanket. So anyway, she's over at the lair, the beacon, and it gets brought up about letting the dog out at 7 p.m. when they're away. And the beacon explicitly says, because she mentions about asking our daughter, she always defaults for these piddly, stupid little favours. And when I say piddly and stupid, I mean you worry about some of the strangest things. So if you take your dog for a walk up to 2 o'clock and then leave him for a few hours, it'll be fine, absolutely fine. It's not a huge horse dog, drinks loads of water, pees like a horse. Anyway, so she mentions asking our daughter. Now, our daughter has her own life, and when she comes in from school, she's 14, just turned 15. She was 14 at the time of this story, a few weeks ago. So she's living out those early teenage years with her friends, enjoying her freedom. She comes in from school, like most teenagers of that age, all they want to do is go out, or what they should want to do is go out and just be free with their friends, in nature if they can be, which they do. Where we live is quite rural, so when she goes to even the big town where the school is, still surrounded by beautiful countryside, blah blah blah. So anyway, you know, our daughter doesn't want petty little chores to have to do at 7 p.m, right in the middle of her socialising, her freedom time. And she doesn't know what she's doing until the day actually comes. You'll remember this as a teenager. You didn't plan your life weeks in advance. You didn't plan your life days in advance. Generally speaking, you went to school, and throughout that day at school, you'd decide with your friends what you are doing, if anything. And then you'd come home from school, and that would be the first your parents would know about your plans when you come home from school. I can't even believe I'm explaining this. And that needs to be respected, because these are vital times for a teenager, and these are the times when they're just old enough to have free rein, be trusted, not in any real danger, don't need constant supervision. And generally speaking, certainly our daughter is mature. I'm not saying she's perfect, but you don't want petty little chores to do for your granny. But she's, because of that spontaneous nature to teenagers, you can't pin them down with like little petty asks like that. They can only decide on the day. So Beacon said to the husk, don't ask Daisy because she's unreliable. And by unreliable, she doesn't mean she'll forget. She means you can't rely on her to be in on any given night for the reasons I've just explained. She's unreliable, and when you're going away for the day, and if you need somebody to see to the dog, then you need somebody who can give you that promise in advance if you're going away, so you can put it to bed and say, right, sorted. You don't ask a child to do it, especially when at 7 p.m. I'm going to just be sitting in the house relaxing. This is like a Wednesday night or something, and she knows that. And the Beacon said to her, do not ask our daughter, she's unreliable, ask me, as in, who am I again, the bad guy? Ask the bad guy. And she gave her explicit, clear instructions not to ask her daughter, i.e. we're her parents, respect what we're asking you. And it's absolutely logical that rather than asking a teenager who lives a spontaneous lifestyle and is unreliable when it comes to things like this, rightly so, it's absolute logic that that's the wrong person to ask, and the correct person is the 49-year-old man who'll be just sitting relaxing at 7 p.m, probably with his feet up, front of the box, whatever. That's the correct and logical person to ask. But now, bear in mind that everything was on, amicable at this period in time. There's no bitterness in the air. So the Beacon leaves the lair, and it could have only been moments. I haven't looked at the actual exact timing, but it could have only been moments while it was still fresh in a impulsive mind. The husk texted our daughter and asked her if she could let the dog out at 7 p.m. on whenever it was, a couple of days' time. So she completely went against the wishes of the parent and obviously her daughter as well. It's her daughter's wishes, and she's the parent. Now, wouldn't you expect that the mother, the grandmother, the husk, a normal functioning grandma, would absolutely respect the wishes of the mother, especially when it makes absolute logic sense, common sense. So, in order for our daughter to do this deed, 7 p.m, she would have to get an earlier bus home. Now, the bus is only every hour. It's 10 mile to where her core friends live in the big town where the school is. 10 miles. Bus journey is about 22 minutes, something like that. Maybe a tad longer, maybe 25 minutes. So it's a decent journey for a kid to have to make 25 minutes on a bus, and obviously hanging around for the bus, and then having to do the same in reverse to get home for 7 o'clock. She'd obviously have to get an earlier bus, which she can't go back out. So she's obviously, I don't need to explain this, do I? It's obvious. You're asking her to completely sacrifice her time with her friends to let your dog out for a wee when there's a grown man sitting in your family's house who's got nothing to do. So she goes against the wishes and the instructions. We didn't know this. Bear with me. We didn't know this. We just assumed she must have, well, see, the beacon, that's another thing. The beacon was going away for 2 days for work. So if it wasn't for that, the beacon would have said, look, I'll do it. She would have just insisted. But obviously she couldn't do that, which is why she said, ask me, ask the bad man. There are two options, ask me or ask the granddaughter. Don't ask the granddaughter, ask the bad man. So the beacon was away. That's important part of the picture. So obviously the beacon went away, and obviously just assumed that the host would ask me. Because you're not constantly in the mindset of the impulsive decision making of the husk. So you just assume that common sense prevails. And so you always fall into these traps, or you make these mistakes where you make assumptions and you always assume wrong. So anyway, the beacon obviously made the assumption that she would ask us, and she went away for our work thing. Because I wasn't there, I was oblivious to any of this. I didn't even know they were going anywhere, because I'm not interested. I don't go over there, and it's not, it's not important to us to have these conversations about what they're doing. It's not a topic of interest to us or importance. So the beacon had never told us about this interaction, about asking, about letting the dog out. So I was oblivious. The first I became aware was the day that they were leaving at about 2 o'clock to go to this day out in the theatre. I became aware that they were going somewhere, and the husk texted us and said, will you remind Daisy? Sorry, will you remind your daughter to let the dog out at 7 o'clock. And I'm like, what? I didn't know she had instructions to do this. But I just simply took that as her. So she'll not ask me to do it, but she'll ask me to remind her. Why? What, at 7 p.m. I'm going to have to get up off me backside, go up to my daughter's bedroom and give her a reminder. Why would I do that? I'll just go do it myself, save her the bother. So anyway, she sent us this text, will you remind her to let the dog out at 7 p.m. And I just jokingly said, yeah, no problem, I'll let your dog out. Because to me, she's just hinting for me to do it. I'm not going to remind, she knows I'm not going to remind her. But anyway, that was just like what I thought, that she's just hinting for me to be the backup. In other words, and whether she must think that when the beacon said our daughter's unreliable, she must have assumed wrongly that she meant forgetful. No, that's not what she meant. But anyway, I text back and said, yeah, no problem, I'll let your dog out. And she never came back and said, oh no, that's not what I meant. So, to me, she didn't want to ask me because she's so low in self-esteem. She can't ask for help, she can't show her vulnerable side. I need help. She can't do that. She can only do it with a child because she doesn't feel like she's putting a child out. That's her basic child mentality. I'll ask my granddaughter because they've got nothing to do anyway. I'm not putting them out. And she'll just say yes to her grandma. So anyway, excuse me. Sure enough, my daughter came from school and went out. And then she ended up, and I let the dog out at 7 p.m. And she ended up, our daughter ended up coming home on the earlier bus than what she normally would. And I said to her, oh, you're early? And she just went, yeah, I know. And then she said, oh, I've just remembered I've got to let the dog out. And I said, it's all right, I've done it. It's all right, I've done it. And I said to her, is that why you came home early? And she went, no. I said, are you sure? She went, yeah. Now, I've only got her word to take for that. And I've got no reason to think she would lie. But did it play a part in it? Being asked to let the dog out at 7 p.m, did that play a part in her getting the earlier bus home, which is not something she usually does? Who knows? So anyway, she then said, my daughter, when I said I had done it, she said, oh, but the husk said she was going to leave us some money for doing it. I said, it's fine. Just go and get the money and just tell her you've done it. She'll not know that it was me. I thought to myself, says that's all right. Offering money. You don't have to bribe children. Again, child mentality. Does that make yourself feel better? Does it? Give her some worthless bits of paper to do you a favour. Does that make you feel better? Well, because you can't do that to me, to a grown adult. You feel like you can't reward us in any way. I don't need reward. It's just a favour. It's what families do for each other. Anyway, I said to my daughter, just go and get the money. She'll not know. Just say you've done it. So that's what she did. And obviously I've told her to tell a white lie there. So, but at the end of the day, she did come home, and the only reason she didn't let the dog out is because I had already just done it. So she deserves the money anyway, if that's what she wants. So I didn't really think anything of this. But the next morning I woke up and I remember that the beacon is away, so I'm in the morning. I've got obviously the household to get ready and everything that entails. And you know, when you just wake up and things dawn on you, or sometimes even questions might just pop into your head when you know, that's why they say sleep on it. Your brain's still active. So anyway, I asked myself, how did this come about? Why is she asking my daughter to walk the dog, to let the dog out? So I said to my daughter, I said, how did this all come about? So she said, oh, the other day she texted us and said, can you let the dog out? 7 o'clock. And this is where it started to go onto the tipping into the sort of wrong behaviour side of things. So she texted her, can you let the dog out on such and such an evening at 7 o'clock? And my daughter replied, I might not be able to because I might be going out, i.e. what I've just told you. So I'll ask Mum. So what she's saying is, so I'll ask Mum. If I can't do it, I'll ask Mum to do it. I mean, that's a perfect response. It's a perfect, mature, assertive response. And you know, putting yourself first, but also taking into account the needs of others. She will do it if she hasn't got any plans, and if not, she'll make sure somebody else in the household will. Ma'am, total mature response. At which point, so my daughter obviously, when she got that text, she obviously didn't realise that for the next couple of days her mum was away for work, which is understandable. So, otherwise she would have said, I'll ask Dad. So the husk comes back straight away with, no, your mum's away. That's why I'm asking you. I'll give you some money. I need you to do it. That's why I'm asking you. I'll give you some money. So I read that, and that was like a red rag to a bull. That was like, she's already given you the answer. What you should have said was, your mum's away, so just ask your dad if you can't do it. No money involved, and don't make her feel like she's got no choice, which is what she did. And then she's telling her that money's involved, but that's bribery. There was no money mentioned in the first text. She only introduced money when she didn't get the answer that she wanted. And remember that she's already completely going against the wishes of the beacon. And not only is she going against the wishes, she's doubling down on her efforts, using coercion and bribery, making her feel like she's got no other choice. All she should have said was, okay, if you can't do it, will you just ask Dad? Well, really what she should have done was ask me in the first place. And then, I'll pay you. So, my daughter's response to that was just 2 letters, okay. But it wasn't I've checked this with her. It wasn't a okay, as in, okay, I will submit. It was an okay, I've received your message. You wanted me to try and do it, and you're going to pay us. Okay, thanks. So the husk thinks that's everything sorted, but in my daughter's mind, she was still going out to Anik, and she would have just asked me to do it. She's not stupid. She's not going to stop in and sacrifice her night out with her friends just so she can let that dog out. She would just say, Dad, can you do that, please? I want to go out. And I would say, yeah, of course. So anyway, the way this text went was just, like I say, red rag to a bull. I was not happy with that at all. So I wasn't very happy with this because I just thought, if my daughter wasn't as mature, assertive and confident as she is, she would have just felt obliged to do that ahead of anything else. Yeah. And I just think that's completely inappropriate behaviour on behalf of the husk. And who would do that to their granddaughter? Who would make them feel like they have to perform this stupid task, petty task? It really, really maddened us that she's it's manipulative, and there was no need for it. And I don't know why, it's an impulse. She was given explicit instructions and logic, reasoning not to do that, but her impulse got the better of her. And what is the impulse? Well, it's just how it makes you feel. Oh, well, it's easier to just ask her. It's difficult to ask the bad man, the adult. Why is it difficult? Because it takes showing your vulnerable side, because you feel like I'm just guilty. I just feel guilty asking you to do something. It's stubborn. Well, I'm not asking for help, but I'll ask it from a child. So anyway, impulse. So I rang. This is still in the morning. Already stressed, getting daughter ready, dog walked, all the other stuff. Get me cell away to work. So I rang the beacon to check her understanding. And so the beacon explained was that she had given her explicit instructions not to do that and to ask me. And I said, well, she's done it anyway. And not only has she done it, when our daughter has kind of said that she might not be able to, she's made her feel like she's got no choice, and she's actually then bribed her. And the beacon wasn't happy. But, you know, what can you do when you're over at the telephone? She's at the other end of the country. You're trying to get to work. I just wanted to get her side of the story, and then I had it. So, in me temper, text, and see if I can find the text, because it's important. Bear with me. So, texter, let's find, where's your husk. Right. I know this is childish when you read out texts, but it's important that I just get this right. So I said, in that morning I said, Daisy was out, she felt guilty not letting the dog out. You should just ask me, not her. She goes out most nights. Because she did feel guilty not letting the dog out. Like she came home and, oh no, I haven't done the dog. You know, like because she had forgotten, she felt a sense of guilt. Obviously, when I reassured her that it was done, she was fine. Bear with us. So I said, she felt guilty not letting the dog out. You should have just asked me, not her. She goes out most nights. And the husk came back straight away. All right, I asked her first, and she said yes. She messaged saying she'd let him out. I will ask you next time. Oh, next time you will. Just thought she'd like a couple of quid for doing it. Didn't mean to make her feel guilty. She usually says no if she can't. Right. This really, really, really got me riled up, because that's lies. So she first said, I asked her first and she said yes. She did not say yes. She said, I might not be able to. I'll ask Mum if I can't. That's not a yes. That's a lie. She messaged, and then she goes on to say, she messaged saying she'd let him out. No, she didn't. She didn't. She didn't do that. Oh, sorry. She messaged saying she had let him out. That's what she means. Yeah, she did, because that was the white lie, remember? So she did message saying she let him out. Yeah. Yeah, I know. What's that got to do with it? Oh, it's because I said she felt guilty not letting him out. Because I'm forgetting here that Daisy's told a white, that my daughter's told a white lie. So let's get this straight. Yeah, she did message saying she'd done it. So that was because the husk, was under the impression that she had done it because I told her to tell her a white lie. So anyway, but that's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. She felt guilty, and because she had done it late, even if she did do it, she had forgotten about it in her mind. She just got that bus home and she had forgotten to do it. So she said, I need to do it. So anyway, I asked her first and she said yes. No, she didn't.
I will ask you next time. Just thought she'd like a couple of quid for doing it. Didn't mean to make her feel guilty. You did. Because you didn't offer her a couple of quid for doing it until she made it sound like she wasn't going to be able to do it. This is total manipulation and lies by omission. She didn't offer her money. You didn't just think you'd give her a couple of quid for doing it. You didn't offer her any money in the first instance. It wasn't until she said that she might not be able to do it. I can't handle these lies. So I went back and said, no, that's not true. You made her feel obligated to. She said if she couldn't, she'd ask the beacon. And you said the beacon's away and that you'd pay her to do it. You made her feel that she had no choice. You should have asked me, not coerced my daughter. And then I sent her a screenshot of the chat between the two of them. So, letting her know that I've seen it. And then I said, she got the early bus last night and got home and I'd already done it. So now I'm telling her the truth. And I'd already done it because you mentioned it to me. I had no idea you asked her. She's not your skivvy. Caught you lying again. Because I've already told her when I catch her lying, lies by omission. So she came back and said, when I asked you to remind her, you said you would do it. Yeah, I know. I know she's not my skivvy, and neither are you. I am not lying, just a misunderstanding. I will apologise to her. I won't ask again. So, total deflection. There's nowhere in there is she, acknowledging that she's done actually what she's done, coercion. When I asked you to remind her, you said you would do it. I know she's not my skivvy, and neither are you. It's just not even addressing what it is I'm saying. You made her feel like she had no choice. Anyway, you just feel like all she's doing is just deflecting. She's just our responses don't actually mean anything. So I said again, you said that she said yes straight up. So now I'm picking at what she said in that text because she's saying she's not lying. You said that she said yes straight up, but that's not true. That's the lie. You manipulated her into saying yes. You should have asked me when you realised the beacon was away. Our daughter goes out most nights and you have no right to coerce her into giving up her night out with her friends so you can go out. That's selfish. When I said I'd do it when you hinted on yesterday, you should have texted my daughter to tell her she wasn't needed. But you didn't do that either. So she had us both doing it. It's not a misunderstanding. It's you and your inability to ask me and the beacon for help. I don't want to keep seeing. And then I saw that St. George coming up the driveway, and it's just makes us angry, frustrated. So I text on the back of that, I just said, I don't want to keep seeing him on my property when I'm peed off with you. And then she doesn't make any reference to that long text I've put. She just says, sorry you feel that way, but if you are referring to St. George, he's welcome here, and you're being petty, taking your feelings out on him. That's not fair. It's just, she doesn't address anything that I've said about her being selfish. She just jumps on what I've said about St. George. Is it being petty? Well, it's pretty hard to take, isn't it? And these people just completely trample all over your feelings and then can't even do the right thing when you ask them to. And so that really annoyed us. So at this point, I'm in the car park at work, just about to get out, and I I decide to give her a ring, and we'll save that for the next entry.